And so my friend finally starts driving. We get home. Her car was at the house, so she just took her car, drove back to her place. And my ex went and got in the shower. I let the dogs out and things like that. Well, then I go in the bathroom and I'm like, hey, you're an asshole. Tonight was actually supposed to be about me, and you somehow made it still about you. Like, you're just, what the hell?
Sounds like a good couple argument.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Super strong. But then I realize we're both drunk. Nothing good comes when two drunk people are arguing.
Facts.
So I just take myself
Two
out.
lesbians.
Yeah, two lesbians. There's just so many feelings.
Yeah.
But so I take myself out.
You loved me.
But so I take myself out and I go to sleep on the couch. And so then she comes out of the bathroom and she like pushes me awake. And I'm like, the hell? And she's like, you don't care. No one cares. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, just go to bed. And she's like, no, you don't care. You don't even care if I killed myself. And like, I'm like, just go to bed. I'm trying to tell her, like, just go to bed. We'll figure this out tomorrow. We'll get coffee. We'll talk about it.
Has she behaved like that before?
Yes.
Okay.
So
there, this is reoccurring.
Yeah. So anytime we would get into a fight, she would basically try to push me out of the house because she knew I couldn't afford the house on my own. So she would try to push me out of the house. And then the minute I'd be like, all right, well, screw off. Like, I'm going to go hang out at my parents for a while. She would be like, well, when you come home, I won't be here. I'm like, well, that's very cryptic. So the gun that I got shot with, I had actually pulled out of her hands because she was going to hurt herself a couple of times like 2 or 3 times that year. So I should have taken that, like, in retrospect.
So let me back up. She's yelling at you, you don't care if I killed myself, and then she grabbed the rifle and she's yelling this?
No. So
a rifle, bro?
It was a 9mm.
Oh.
You make me sound way cooler. If it was a rifle, I'd be screwed.
Okay, so she grabs a handgun.
So I was finally like, just go to bed. We'll figure this out tomorrow. Like, we'll get coffee. We'll talk about it, whatever. So she goes upstairs. And I'm like, okay, cool. She either went to bed or she went to go get a pillow to sleep on the other side of the couch.
It wasn't either. She went to go get
a Sig Sauer 9mm.
Let's go.
And I heard her clear the chamber as she was coming down the stairs.
There you go, Max.
There was good. And so I looked to the stairs and I just saw her coming down. He really is. I saw her coming down the stairs with the gun. And one of the last things I remember is getting up off the couch and walking to the stairs. And then the next thing I remember, I am kneeling in front of her with my hands on my sides, and her eyes are big, and she's like, oh my God, I just shot you. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? And she's like, I just shot you. I'm like, stop lying. Like, whatever, the fight's over, you shot me, haha. She's like, no, I just shot you. And I pulled my robe back because I had a bathrobe on. I looked and I was like, I saw the hole and I was like, oh shit. Like, this is real life. Wow. So
you're lucky you were drunk.
Yeah.
That probably would have hurt like a bitch.
That's that, and like, it's adrenaline at that point too.
Yeah, I think even sometimes sober, some people react like that. Like, it's the shock and it's the adrenaline.
Yeah.
I actually think the alcohol in your system might have made you bleed out faster
I think it did, but I think it made me like, I feel like if I would have tensed
resilient.
up, it's almost like when drunk drivers get into accidents. Yeah. Drunk drivers are usually okay because they're so relaxed. They're just limber.
Assholes.
Yeah.
But
such an unfortunate circumstance, but yes.
Yes, absolutely. But so she starts running around looking for the phones. We can't find the phones because we were both drunk and we left them in the car. I know that now. But I'm like, you need to go to a neighbor's house and call 911. So she takes off to go call 911. I just I focus on my breathing. I calm myself down. I was so weird because I'm such a like ADD chipmunk sometimes that like I'm just so like built up, but I was so calm. Like I just
What were you drinking? Dark or white?
I don't even remember.
She was mixing it all.
I was.
If you were mixing she's like, just grab the whiskey. We'll just pour
I'm pretty sure
I
was drinking like Miller Lights and Vegas bombs.
What is
and
a
maybe some
lesbian's drink of
Jameson.
choice? Miller
God,
Lights?
I have no idea.
I have no idea. Miller Lights for sure.
Bunch of bougie lesbians like, hey, let's work on our pickup truck. But so
like the fish bowls, the fucking big ass drinks.
I feel like girly girls like those things. They're colorful.
I like them.
I mean, they're good. They're good.
I see you drinking whiskey on the rocks and Miller Lights.
No, I'm not a whiskey girl. No. I mean, I like Jameson, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I can't just be like, I want Jameson on the rocks.
Fire.
I like Jameson and like ginger ale is good.
No.
All right. So a mixture of a bunch of drinks.
Yeah, just
made
a bunch
you
of
calm
stuff
through this whole situation.
Yeah.
And carry on when you were
so
practicing your breathing.
I concentrated on my breathing, made sure that I didn't like hyperventilate. I found my spot on the wall that I just kind of stared at and like talked myself down. Like,
were you in nursing school?
No, I actually applied and was accepted to nursing school several years prior, but couldn't go because of financial issues.
Oh, right, because you couldn't even afford the house.
Yeah, because I was in veterinary medicine. I was a vet tech.
Okay.
And so she come running back because they didn't answer. And she's gonna drive me to the hospital, and I'm like, no,
drunk drive me while I'm drunk bleeding out.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah. So I told her, I was like, I don't know how bad this is, and I need help now. So I need you to go to the other neighbor and knock on every window and door until they help you, because I need help. So she takes off again, and at this point, I'm still on the stairs. I'm just because I figured if I got up, I might pass out. So I just got low on the stairs.
Are you like putting pressure on the room?
So I was holding kind of like my chest, like right here. And I just got really low on the stairs because I figured if I tried to stand up, I was going to fall backwards and hit my head.
Well, yeah, because you're drunk.
Yeah. And there's just so much happening. Yeah. And so I wiggle my fingers so I know that my arm's fine. I know that I'm breathing, so I know it didn't hit a lung. I know that I'm still alive, so it didn't hit my heart. So at this point, I'm like, whatever happens, happens. Like, I'm going to be all right.
I love your common sense in this.
But I don't have common sense in real life. That's the bad thing.
Well, you know you got it when it counts. That's all that matters.
If Eric shot me, I'd be like, you fucking just shot me, you motherfucker.
Yeah, and if I ever had to shoot you, I would be fully calm, like, there's a reason.
Good night, bitch.
Right,
definitely wouldn't be on accident like your ex-wife.
Well, I don't know. The jury's still out on that. But so she came back and she started changing her clothes, which is like the weirdest thing to me. The only thing that I could like maybe think of was she was so screwed up for some reason she thought she was coming with me. Because like if I shot someone that I loved, I would be like right by their side, like holding pressure, talking to them. No, she was running all over the house, changing her pants. And so I was like,
maybe she was trying to like hide evidence or something.
Well, no, because the gun was by my head.
She admitted to everything.
Oh, right? Yeah, there was no denying it.
So I don't think she was
because it was just her and
evidence. Maybe that, when people are panicking, they do weird things.
That's true. So that's kind of what I chalk that up to. So the police come in. And I realized that one of the things I had been playing with to like help me keep calm was an unspent bullet. And I'm like, well, this is ironic.
Nice.
Because the gun was still by my head. Mm-hmm. So the police, and I didn't even know. So the police come in, they have to clear the situation. On the staircase.
Okay.
And so the police get the gun, things like that. And it wasn't until I got flipped over and put on the bed that it was a through and through, because I saw the hole in the wall and I was like, oh shit. I definitely wasn't applying enough pressure.
Just bleeding on the other side.
Yeah, it's fine. So we get on the ambulance, and I'm cracking horribly inappropriate jokes because that's just what I do. Yeah. And we finally get to the hospital, and obviously she's arrested. And
obviously,
well, I would hope so, right?
Did they arrest her immediately?
Yes.
No questions asked.
No, you shot.
Arrest and 9 questions.
Well, because it's.
Was it attempted murder?
No, so they went after her for unlawful discharge of a firearm.
Area. I knew they were going to say that.
And it was something else. But it wasn't attempted murder.
They should have went after her for attempted murder. I mean, they should. She
played the game so freaking well. It's ridiculous.
It's probably because like it wasn't hollow point.
Well, so that's actually I'm very lucky that she grabbed the clip that she did, because the gun wasn't loaded. It was in the range bag with two clips. One was home defense, and one was range bullets.
And luckily, your dumbass picked the wrong bullets.
Yeah, I'm so happy she grabbed the range bullets. But so we get to the hospital. One of the nurses comes in. She's like, this is going to be a scar, right? And I was like, it's all right. Chicks dig scars. And she was like, what?
Yeah.
the register person comes in. She's like, "Who's your emergency contact?" I said, "Well, it would have been my wife before she shot me, and here we are." And she didn't know what to say, so she just scampered out of the room. She's like, "What? I don't even know what to say."
What about your mom? I thought she's like your best friend.
She is, but at that point, like wife versus but I kept calling out for my mom, and I didn't know her number by heart, and I didn't have my phone. And so the police finally found my phone.
That's a you problem.
Yeah, that is definitely a me problem.
Wow.
So the police finally found my phone and they called my mom. And it's 3-something in the morning. So obviously she doesn't answer. They leave her a message. So the nurse comes in. I'll never forget her. Her name was Jamie. And she never left my side because at that point I didn't have any identification. So I was a Jane Doe.
Hey, we're kind of similar.
No identification? Are you a Jane Doe too?
I was a John Doe.
Yeah.
They were looking all over for me when I got in my car accident. They were like, okay, he's in the Army. Let's call Fort Campbell. And then they called it MPs. And it was fucking crazy. Like, it took them 19 hours to figure out who I was.
It's a terrible, terrible feeling. It's worse than getting shot is being a Jane Doe. Because at that point, like, you have that feeling if you're conscious enough to where like I could literally die right now
and nobody's gonna know
and no one would know. And it is
crazy.
The worst feeling in the world. But Jamie never left my side because I actually heard a couple people refer to me as Jane Doe. Mm-hmm. And Jamie never left my side, and she called me by my name. And every once in a while, like when a test result or like a scan would come back normal, there'd be like that moment of silence. Because people were starting to kind of relax because then I wasn't as critical as I could have been. And that's when I would start to get emotional and like start to cry. And then I would stop. I would just cut it off. Mm-hmm. And so finally, they come up with my parents' address. And she's like, I can send some police officers to go get them. Is that what you want? And I was like, no, it's fine. Like my mom will hear the message and she'll come. And she's like, yeah, so you haven't cried yet, and you're going to need to do that. So the police are actually already on their way to get your mom. And so I looked at her because at that point I was being moved. I was getting moved to the floor now. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, you heal, because that's all you can do. And I started to cry and I was like, I don't know how to do this. And I grabbed her hand and I'll never forget it because she took my hand back and she was like, you have a lot of decisions to make and you don't have to make them right now. But when you do, you need to make them with your gut because your head and your heart are never going to agree. You need to make these decisions with your gut. She's like, promise me. And so I said, I promise. And that was the last time I ever saw her. And she was phenomenal. She's actually part of the reason I got back into nursing, I should say.
Nice.
So
shout out to Jamie if she's listening.
For sure. Yeah. She was awesome.
You actually just answered a question that
Jamie
I was premeditating in my head. I was going to ask you, from this traumatic experience, did that bring you to a big productive decision in your life? And you said you wanted to be a nurse.
Yeah, it's actually, well, I'll get there. So I get moved to this floor. And I'm on a lot of drugs now. So I have a morphine headache because morphine gives me the worst migraine I learned ever. It's terrible.
It's terrible.
But so I'm like half awake, half asleep.
You got headaches too, Max, when you get morphine?
Yeah.
It's a total rebound thing. It's god awful. But I hear my mom laugh down the hall and I'm like I felt every muscle just relax. Nice. Like this breath I had been holding for so long was just gone. I'm like, okay.
Nice.
So my mom shows up in the doorway and I see her and she's like, hey, what happened, kid? And I'm like, Mommy, I got shot. And I just start crying. I'm going to start crying right now. Yeah. But like I just started crying and she's like, I know, you're okay. And so it was just crazy. So I was hospitalized for 24 hours because the bullet miraculously hit nothing. If it had been an inch any other way, it would have either permanently maimed me or possibly killed me.
God was in there just moving the bullet through you.
For real. I don't, because it doesn't.
Soft tissue.
There's like so many similarities compared to your story and my story because like the roof of my car If it was an inch, I would have broken. I would have been dead.
Yeah. And that's just like
it's an inch.
Yeah, and it's crazy, and it always makes me laugh, like telling people that story, because I mean I grew up playing softball, like every other self-respecting lesbian. Are you sneezing?
Well, now I'm not because you made me nervous.
I'm sorry.
Thanks.
I do that often.
Go back to crying.
Well, so I grew up
you.
playing softball,
Thanks.
and we always said that baseball and softball is a game of inches. Whether it's like being safe at home or like missing a pop flight, like baseball and softball and life are a game of inches. And so that always like made me laugh whenever I tell that story, because I'm like, oh, damn, like my coaches were right. Mm-hmm. I would never tell them that, but my coaches were right. But so, yeah, I was out of the hospital in 24 hours and I went home and started my life from scratch. And Did
you not see your ex-wife since then, like until the court date?
Well, I couldn't.
Because she was apprehended.
She was in jail. So I was at the
justice.
Yeah, I was at that hearing. So at that point, she could still call me. Mm-hmm. And so I was talking to her, and like one of the biggest red flags was like, I'm in the hospital, I'm shot, things like that. She calls me, and the first thing she says to me is, please don't leave me.
Oh, yeah.
And for the first time in my entire relationship with her I said, I can't make that promise.
Living life to the max, just like my podcast.